progress is about focusing on your goal and managing risk. I probably will not repeat that thing again, but do remember that you should figure out what your goal is and try to minimize the risk there. And even now that you look at your day, looking forward, try to figure out what it is. Try to figure out what it is that you're trying to get done today, and we'll return to that. These two things, the attitude part and the communication part, the structure of communication. Just to remind you that we've been discussing that yesterday, and the attitude part is something, and the culture that is created around attitudes of many people is something that can be mended, changed, and you can actually take a very proactive role in that, and probably should, if you want to succeed. And cultural differences recap, and structure of communication. You will have a chance to communicate to all of us. And of course, you can take any route, right? And we'll see what works better. Use of laptops or other digital devices conflicts with our ability to deliver the workshop and is not permitted during class time. Please note that as well. I do want you to remember about that when you pull your laptop or when you pull your phone to send an SMS to your friend, or girlfriend, or boyfriend. Please don't distract yourself and others. I know that our instructors are doing a very good job, keeping you in. Still, as I was walking around yesterday and listening and looking, I've seen probably half of you people looking at your laptops and phones, doing something else, checking emails, sending SMSs, WhatsApps, etc. When you're doing that, you're not doing this course. So whatever time you're spending here is kind of wasted. All right, quick success. After reading quite a few of your feedbacks, I want to ask, is it a quick success or is it a quick insuccess? What are your opinions? Because there were quite a few things that said I didn't finish, and I want to get additional time. I would like to have additional time to do this. I would like to have additional time to finish that. Some of the people actually stayed quite late playing with the toys. So what do you think? Was the success, in a sense? So it actually depends on what we were trying to accomplish, right? Success is defined by where, it's like an Alice in Wonderland. You got to know where you're going to know that you've gone there. I took a piece from all these things, they're not created by me. I just took snippets from your emails. So none of these words, I edited them slightly because some of you were typing very late at night, and there were words missing or misspelled. They're still misspelled, but anyway. What we did, we built analytical models, and then there was a long list of things what you guys did yesterday. And why we did it? Well, Phil and partly go through the entry process from pure math, physics to prototype. So you actually, I think all of you have gotten from some bit of theory or a piece of theory or pseudo understanding of it somewhere where you understand how it applies. You might not have a prototype that works, but I would say I'm reasonably confident that even for those of you who have not been able to finish everything that your professor wanted yesterday, if you did have another 2 or 3 hours, you'd get there. So the point of the exercise was not actually to achieve the result, but to make sure that you understand that you can achieve this result. Improve communication skills and ability to work in teams. That's actually, this is one of the most important things that we're trying to accomplish. And even in a matter of a day yesterday, it was clear how much better you were by the end of the day than by the beginning of the day. Hopefully, with some of our help next week, you'll get even further. Acquire knowledge as we go. This is one of the most important pieces from my point of view. And professors were expressly asked not to give you all the pieces of knowledge that you need to solve the problems. Mostly because life is sort of, I'm not going to say it's unfair. It's fair. It's just that it never gives you all the answers up front. So when you figure out what it is that you want to do, you pretty much need to figure out what you need to know. And then you need to find that knowledge somewhere. You need to go out, talk to people, you need to go on the internet, you need to read books, I know. There are so many sources. And there's not a single occasion in your life when you will need to acquire all the knowledge about subject to be able to practice it. Most of the people acquire just the bits that are necessary for them at the moment. And that's a very important skill to have, to decide, to understand what it is that you need to know right now and go and get it. So I think that one of the most important pieces of quick successes is actually that you should figure out what it is that you need to know to make the next step. Proof of the idea that can make a lot of them in the field that not familiar with. So you actually, how many of you were on projects that were completely not your cup of tea? Yeah, a few, yeah. Which might be because the rest of you are so broad in your knowledge and skills, right? Anyway, that's another one. You should be able to listen to your friends discussing a technology and figure out what to do with it after a while. I have been finally convinced that the fact that the quick estimation is almost as important as the accurate modeling. So yeah, try to think as fast as you can, and you don't need to do a very, 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 very thorough job to understand where to go. In order to understand where to go, you pretty much need to be able relatively quickly figure out the landscape. And by the way, as we did go through this yesterday, yes, it was hands-on as we wanted to, and fun and science. Nah, kind of teamwork, yes. I have gazillion of slides that I filled with pieces from your emails. I probably will not go through all of them, but they are very indicative. So these are sort of sound bites. When deadline is approaching, the problem becomes a real problem. You suddenly understand the necessity for fast prototyping. Even though I had little or no background in programming and simulation, I thoroughly enjoyed, and the lecture was easy to follow logically. I have revisited some basic theory of electrical circuits and enjoyed construction process. So most of the emails were actually quite positive. Surveys. Thank you for those who did send their surveys. So what did we do? I liked to note that the person counted the number of times that we were eating, although I think you still miscounted it by one. Or maybe you were late for the breakfast. Retrospect, some basic lectures, having fun. That's actually pretty good. Some discussions about new projects. And I didn't notice the word startup actually. Yes, we didn't mention the word startup. And in the innovation workshop, we will barely get to the startup. Startup is the next stage. Once you already have what to do, you'll need to figure out how to do it, right? Startup is a vehicle to achieve impact. One of the possible vehicles. We will be discussing that a little bit later, but yes, we have not said the word startup yet, and for a while we'll be staying away from it. Why do you think we did it? To show that it may be easy to start, it may be, to accomplish some stuff without week-long discussions that it's impossible to do. That is definitely it. In the capstone project, you will have 2.5 weeks to start from ground absolute zero, just absolute zero, just an idea and a small team of people with whom you might have worked before. And in 2.5 weeks, you will have to produce something very tangible. If you spend a week and a half mulling around and thinking, well, is it possible to do it or is it not? You're not going to get there. To give us skills to start and try. What did you extract? I like this one. See answer above. And team is a great thing. Leader skills are very valuable. Skills to clean hands from PU foam. Yeah, that's, not everybody learned how to do that, but some of you did. And water availability and air conditioning could have been, made the experience much easier. We'll try to achieve that as well today. Muddy points. I do need you guys to rate something of a negative, if a little bit of actionable feedback. We need to warn people who are going to be involved in mud-related workshops. By the way, we're not going to have mud-related workshops more. We will just break the bridges today in the afternoon, right? Everybody's invited to the bridge breaking ceremony at 12:30. The bridges will be tested, and one of the students told me yesterday that she wanted the bridge to hold a person. And my question back was, which person? Because I know that I am 100 kilograms, and there's a guy sitting there who's 115. Two of us. It would be a really cool bridge if if we could stand on it. We need to upload presentations, questions, contacts to our Google group, etc., etc. There is a point with these presentations. They contain material that has been sent to us, given to us by the person who developed it at MIT. And until the guy publishes, and he intends to publish some pieces that are related, I cannot share with you most of these presentations. So what you see is what you get. I can probably print them and give them to you, but I cannot send you electronic copies. Or I would have to clean them, from all of the stuff that came from him, which is probably about half of it, and only then I can give it to you. That's sort of going back to intellectual property. The guy is writing a book. He asked not to share it, and not to send his electronic copies so that they're not disseminated all over the world. It's about last part of yes. It is about last part of last lecture. Please do not tell us that you must do this and must not do that. Actually, you're not doing well. That's a part. So you say point argument is better than argument point, but there are examples when the last one is more appropriate, and tell us to use our heads. Point taken. If I did say do that, or no, do not do that, I apologize. I'm not going to say it again, or try not to. But I am going to try to give you arguments for you to figure out which one you prefer. You can try either one, right? Wednesday's glue lecture was quite strange. The conversation during Thursday lecture was more interesting, and people started to open. Wednesday was a really warped day in a sense. It was meant to be a bit warped, but I guess it got a little bit too far. Another muddy points. I think that I already feel the impact. The fear and anxiety started to take place in my life. Probably I'm too tired last several days, and I don't have even time to think about such things to feel them. I really like that one, about too tired and anxiety and fear. Another one, I'm also very happy that you provide us with food, especially breakfasts. And yesterday you've asked about mashed potatoes. I love very mashed potatoes, but they weren't tasty, unfortunately. Interestingly, you wouldn't believe, in a cohort number 1, when they came to Boston 2 years ago, they were very unhappy for the first week. And then in one of the muddy points, there was sort of a feedback that they really need soup and mashed potatoes. And the Americans said, okay. And soup and mashed potatoes was provided. The muddy points were great after that. Everybody was happy. So in fact, the entire MIT community thinks that Russians really need soups and mashed potatoes. That's how legends are born. And problems. Software installation was unpleasant. Professor X didn't give us enough basic knowledge, etc., etc. So why did I go through these muddy points, this and this? Because of this. Very little of the critique is actually good, but very little of it is actionable. I remember we were speaking about that yesterday. Don't state the problem, suggest the solution or a solution. It would be so much easier, right? Imagining technology. I have probably 6 slides with the Imagining Technology apps. And I think I got carried away too far with this, just because I really like the fact that you guys started thinking about this. I want you to continue. Not every single piece is, some of that is really imagining technologies. For example, a robo-arm catching fish on a windy and frosty day. Yeah, how about that? Or Use Tapper feature in several voting schemes as mobile version on sites. There are some interesting, well, all of them are interesting. There are some interestingly weird. There are some actually quite, attached to the meaningful, to the experience of the person who have given this. So interesting ones. There are special robot arms in the International Space Station. They are certainly more accurate, but the technique is the one that we've learned. I really liked that point. Bridges, yeah, the bridges got really carried through. Bridges come to the point that there is a piece about the fact that the composite material bridges are really, well, more efficient and stiffer and better, and faster to build, and easier to maintain, and way less, and can be mobile. Well, the last point I really didn't understand. Why do you want mobile bridges? Is it something that you come in the morning to the place where you usually cross and the bridge isn't there? Imagining technology apps. Again, will be cool to make a robot arm for cats. That one I really enjoyed. We need to feed the cats. Is it hungry or not? Maybe we've just given it some food and forgot it. It will be much better that the cat gets food at certain periods of time by the arm, which can surely find the pack with food and a cat ball. Or if the cat touches the ball, several times arm will give it some food. So yeah, cranking. Computer vision. Computer vision as part of artificial intelligence can solve problem of loneliness. Oh, there was actually a very nice cartoon attached to it. I probably should have brought it in here, but fine. However, it brings serious social problems illustrated in the movie Her by Spike Jonze. Interesting. Well, and you can see there are more and more. So what do you want to do today? As yesterday, you have, who wants to go first? Today. Today is similar day, similar but different. What do you expect? What do you want?
Probably apply myself to some kind of different area, because coding all the time doesn't actually excite me a lot.
Still communication, and also I have an idea that we can try ourselves in a different area and then try to connect these two areas that we were involved in.
Maybe to practice more teamwork, to analyze the previous days, my faults and positive parts, and to move in this direction. Teamwork and communication. Well, there are some problems appearing when you are working in a team sometimes. So, I think it's really important to try to find out the solution and move further in communication.
Well, as far as I remember, you had some neural stuff in your presentation on the first day. I do not actually know what it is, but some brain stuff or neuron stuff could be really interesting. Lecture or practice or whatever.
I do not remember where I send you, so I'm not sure. Who else? What about you? What do you want?
I want to learn about any innovation projects, teamwork, and that's all.
By the way, I have a question, guys. Thank you. Do you think that quick success projects are innovation? What is? All right. Microphone.
Thank you. That's innovation in education, I think, but it's not innovation at all. So, because there are a lot of techniques and some kind of stuff that it is now. So, it's not innovation, but.
The gentleman in the back said because we have a recipe how to do it.
Okay, so maybe we have to train a technique called brainstorm, and for practicing of creating new ideas as many as possible in a very short period of time in a groups.
As the first response was that it was on the recipe, I can say something else because we made an idea that wasn't on the plan yesterday. So we felt how we make a new thing and make it real. Yeah, kind of.
I think if the activities are open-ended, there could be innovation. But if it is sort of close-ended, you have to arrive at some sort of answer. No. So.
You're giving me material for a glue lecture in the evening.
And also I think that innovation starts when we start to think about applications of the technologies, about an impact, not just technology, but for people.
Well, how about that? What about the fact that I asked you yesterday in the evening to think about the applications? Did I mean something by that? I guess. So anything else you want to do today?
See some bridges crack. To see some bridges crack. Because yesterday we didn't get a result, so we could not see how much weight it can take. So we want the result to see today.
Cool. All right. Do you want to see anything else cracked? All right. Day survey. We need 2 volunteers today too. And by the way, we need volunteers who actually write and send. Okay, 1, 2. Thank you. Remember yourself. So we will have 4 groups again. I do not know which group is on, well, there are 3 groups on the 3rd floor and 1 group on the 4th floor. I will tell you in about 2 minutes which group is on which floor. The Jacob White is in the robotic arm is in the very same place where it was. Rogers is in the very same place where he was. Ilya Turchin from Nizhny Novgorod and Vladimir Kazantsev also from Nizhny Novgorod. One is where Limpitsky was with face modelings, and another one is on the 2nd floor, sort of just under us. And the list is this. Please try to find yourself. If you don't find yourself, please come to me. And as you found yourself, you can start moving.
The reason for building it is because in designing a feedback controller or any system, it's really helpful to know what it was made from. So we have you build it so you really understand the thing you're working with. And then what you're going to try to do is to see how well you can do at getting the robot arm to precisely position. And you'll discover that it turns out to be a more complicated problem because if it has a long arm at the end, the head of the robot arm wiggles. And it's really actually quite hard to move it into a position quick. Describes what we're going to do. It will have a list of parts for you to get started with. We have them all over here. We're going to get you started building right away. We're not going to talk much about the feedback theory yet. I want you to actually have something in your hands to be looking at so you know what we're going to be trying to do. So over the course of the morning, we should get these all built, and in the afternoon we could actually try doing different kinds of control algorithms with it. And during that time, we'll probably pull each of you aside and make sure you each have access to a copy of the LabVIEW software. So look for the PDF document. Let's make sure everybody's got a copy of it. And then there's a parts list there and a description of how you build these robot arms. It's not hard, it's for fun. And I'll leave this one set up here so in case any...
always want to go to your intuition and something you can physically think of as a benchmark for the test. It's a mental.
The 7 significant digits, should I have a model and all this stuff? And so they teach an entire class at MIT called the Art of Approximation. And so it's in this field, it's just trying to estimate something. And so I know when I first tried to estimate, I always want to get a very accurate number, high precision number. You just need some order of magnitude, like is it 10, is it 100, is it 1,000, is it 50, is it something rough. Okay, so just quickly, like a minute or less, how did this group come up with 300 watts?
You can see the individual cells. This is the cells inside, and this there. And 2 photon and second harmonic see different collagen, elastin, and so on. Can do the better resolution, the size of the focal spot, can separate them. But for the last 10 years, several techniques appeared. Stimulated emission depletion, so-called state microscopy.
not perfect. You can see it doesn't always come back to the same place. And you can also see it starting to oscillate. And you're trying to move over to another lane. If you turn too far, then you go past the lane. And then when you turn the wheel back, if you turn overcorrect, you go back and forth and wider and wider. And so it's very easy to do that in a feedback system. And we try to get to a little of that here, but we're also trying to understand this idea of not very